Hello and welcome to this week's news bulletin from the Christian Institute. The US Supreme Court has ruled that individual states can continue to decide for themselves whether or not to legalise gay marriage. The court, however, refused to rule on whether a vote by the people of California to retain the traditional definition of marriage is constitutional. A law was introduced following a vote known as Prop 8, but the Governor and Attorney General of California refused to defend it in court. The court decided not to issue a ruling, leaving it unclear as to whether the law remains in place. The Supreme Court rulings have prompted this reaction from the Heritage Foundation's Ryan Anderson.
The court refused to manufacture a constitutional right to same-sex marriage. That is, the other side was hoping to get the court to redefine marriage throughout all 50 states, and the court said no.
But in another separate ruling, the Supreme Court did strike down part of the Defence of Marriage Act relating to the award of federal benefits. This means that same-sex couples who enter into a gay marriage in one of the few states that allow it will be entitled to federal benefits throughout the US. Back in the UK, and the Scottish Government has published its same-sex marriage bill amid calls for greater protection for people who support traditional marriage. Alex Neil, the Scottish Government Minister in charge of the bill, commented, "A marriage is about love, not gender, and that is the guiding principle at the heart of this bill. It will be up to the religious body or individual celebrant to decide if they want to perform same-sex marriages, and there will be no obligation to opt in." But John Mason, MSP, responded, warning, "I'm still not sure whether, despite the assurances we have been given, these protections can be guaranteed. I don't think any government would want to see ministers or priests dragged through the courts for upholding their personal beliefs in accordance with their faith." And a spokesman for campaign group Scotland for Marriage said, "The Scottish Government have not fulfilled their promises," adding, "In coming months we will tell voters the facts, including what redefining marriage means for people's jobs, lives and families." Chaplaincy services have been cutting almost 40% of NHS hospital trusts, according to new research. The figures were acquired by the BBC using a Freedom of Information request to 163 acute hospital NHS trusts. The figures reveal that 39% of trusts in England have fewer chaplains in 2013 compared to 2009. It also found that 47% of trusts had reduced chaplaincy hours, while overall there has been a cut of 8.5% in the hours chaplaincy services are available. The Reverend Mark Burley of the College of Healthcare Chaplains responded, saying, "If a person's illness is providing them with a religious crisis, or if the person is dying and the family is very anxious that someone should come and say prayers in line with that person's faith, then it is part of the care offered by the hospital to ensure that that happens. There need to be members of staff who are trained and equipped and who understand hospitals." An unemployed mum was denied a grant to cover funeral costs for her premature baby girl because she was born before the abortion limit of 24 weeks. Kaylee Yates went into labour at 22 weeks, and despite doctors' efforts, they could not save the child, who was named Lacey. Kaylee said, "She was my little girl, but they are refusing to accept that she ever existed. Lacey had ears, a nose, 10 fingers and 10 toes. In what way is she not a baby?" The rules on grants for funerals are based on the Births and Deaths Registration Act. A Department for Work and Pensions spokesman said, "We're terribly sorry for Miss Yates' loss. As a department, we must be consistent with broader legislation." The Scout Association is to offer the option of a new atheist promise for the first time. The movement was founded by Lord Baden-Powell in 1908 on Christian principles, and currently Scouts must promise to do my duty to God, with those of other faiths having alternative wording. But following mounting pressure from atheists, the movement are to introduce an optional oath which has no reference to God, according to the Sunday Telegraph. The Girl Guides recently dropped any reference to God in their oath in a move criticised for pandering to individualism and secular humanist ideas. David Cameron has praised the role of Christianity in society at a parliamentary prayer breakfast in Westminster Hall. The Prime Minister told MPs, "It is encouraging that Christianity still plays such a vital role in our national life." He said, "It has had an immense historic influence in the development of our culture and institutions, and it motivates British people to wonderful acts of service and self-sacrifice. We are a country with a Christian heritage, and we should not be afraid to say so. There are many challenges ahead, and I believe the Christian faith will rise to these challenges as it has done in the past and continue to nourish and strengthen our country. And finally, Christian high wire performer Nik Wallenda has successfully walked across the Grand Canyon. Nik is the first person to attempt and complete the walk 1,500 feet above the Little Colorado River. The feat was watched live by 13 million viewers on the Discovery Channel, with the quarter-of-a-mile walk taking about 22 minutes to complete. Nik could be heard in prayer as he moved slowly across the canyon. He says God has given him a unique talent which he can use to bring glory to his name.
It's so important to me that every time before I do any of these big events, I get in a circle and pray with my family. And I always say, give God the glory. Let God get the glory out of what I'm doing. While I'm on that wire, people can't understand, how could you be peaceful? Well, when I'm praising God, there's no one else to talk to, and it's my own quiet time. There's that prayer closet. Well, the wire often is and has been my prayer closet. I was walking across Niagara Falls, and there was raging waters on my left, and below me waters were boiling underneath and mist flying in front of me. But instead of focusing on all those problems that I had around me, I focused on the other end, just very, very similar to our walk with Christ. It's not always rosy, it's not always easy. Life isn't always, a dream. But with God, all things are possible, and there is that light at the end of the tunnel.
What an amazing achievement. Well, that's all for this week. For more information and regular updates on all of our stories, plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.